Hey, it's Fran again at the bench with this. Yes, this is a time grapher or time graph. This is a tool that you kind of need if you have a lot of mechanical clocks, particularly mechanical watches, that you want to be accurate. This is a pulse setting tool for a pocket watch, like this one. This is my 1927 Illinois. It's a size 18, 17 jewel. It's my primary everyday carry watch. I recently had this sent away to a horologist. They completely took it apart, cleaned it, oiled it. It's something you have to have done every so many years. You gotta take care of the watch internally for the wear and tear, and it was returned to me in excellent shape. It's very, very clean and crisp, and they clean the dial and everything. It looks great, but it's running really slow. I need to regulate the watch to get the accuracy back to the way it was before I had it taken apart and oiled. More accurate. I like my watches to run, within seconds a day, which can be a challenge with a mechanical watch, and I'll explain in a moment why. To get a baseline idea, I'm going to use the time grapher. So what is this? Let me turn it on. Okay. This is automatic. It's going to automatically detect the kind of balance that the watch has or the clock has based on its rate. So this side here, this is a microphone. This is all made of metal. It's actually very heavy. It's a heavy base. This is a heavy cast microphone here with a microphone element in it. And this head here that rotates, it's got this metal end and a spring-loaded arm with a rubber pad on it. And basically you put the watch in here and it holds the watch up against this metal piece here, and that's translating the sound. Let me turn off the sound here, it's very annoying. Now it's taking a sample here. It's sampling the rate. So you can see it right there, taking samples as the escapement clicks back and forth. And you can see two lines there, and that's the rate of the balance going back and forth. Doot, 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 doot. And you can see here already, just the sample it has, so already it's showing that it's 67 seconds per day slow, and this is fully wound. I just wound the watch. This is full spring. But as the spring winds down, like 18 hours, between 14 and 18 hours down, so if like I wind it up tonight and then tomorrow late morning, I'll wind the watch when I, get dressed. I'll notice that the time is it's like a minute and a half slow. So here, look, it's dropped here. So it's getting a better sample rate as time goes on. So here, but over the course of like 18 hours, it's like a minute and a half slow a day, which is not good. This is really off. So I'm gonna have to adjust the watch, and it's pretty easy to do. Although it does take some very steady hands, which I admittedly don't really have anymore. But I got to open up the watch and adjust the regulator. So let's do that. To open up a watch like this, this doesn't have a cover on it, and you get into the watch just by taking the crystal off. You just lay your hand on the top, press lightly, and just give a little counterclockwise spin. There you go. It just takes the crystal off. There you go, like that. Okay. And to get the watch open, I gotta pull out the stem. Okay. So that stem's released, and there's a little depression there for a fingernail. You get your fingernail in there. It's a little tight. Okay. fingernail is just a little thin. I guess if I had a thicker thumbnail, it'd be a little easier. But yeah, so it's hinged, and you just swing it out like that. It's really beautiful, you know. He did a great job. It's really clean. You can even see like the blue, the shiny blue on the hairspring there. There's the balance going back and forth, and that's the period that we were seeing on the time grapher. And this arm here, that's the regulator. This is a kind of a fancier watch. They call this type of regulator a swan neck. And you can see this spring, it goes around like that, like a swan neck. It's basically just like a spring that's holding onto the regulator arm, and it's got this really fine set screw on the other side. And this just allows you to do really fine adjustments, and also it holds the regulator arm in place so that once you set it, it's not going to bob around and move as you walk around and move the watch, right? So it's hard to see, but there's an inscription there that says F/S. So move it to the left, it's going to go faster. Move it to the right, it's going to go slower. We need to go a little faster, so I'm going to have to turn that screw and move the regulator to the left. How much? Well, without a time grapher, you kind of have to guess. So if you don't have a tool to really measure the period, the process is kind of slow and cumbersome. You just set the regulator a little bit, and then you check the watch in hours later, or 4 hours, 12 hours later, see if the accuracy is improved, how much, and you just kind of ballpark it and kind of get it as good as you can. Fortunately, because I've got the time graph, I'm going to be able to hook this watch up, regulate the spring, and be able to see in relatively real time how well I'm doing. And I'll be able to dial it in as close as I can before I put the watch back together. Theoretically. You may ask, what is the regulator arm doing really? Well, it's changing the functional length of the hairspring. It's hard to see because it's all moving very fast, but inside the balance wheel is a coiled spring, a very fine spring. It's called the hairspring. And that is the spring that counters the mainspring, which is supplying power for the whole gear train, which is driving the watch. So the mainspring is driving the escapement in one direction, and which is pushing the balance to one direction. The hairspring is countering that and throwing the balance back in the opposite direction. And it is the balance of forces between the mainspring and the hairspring that creates accuracy, makes the escapement accurate. So what we're doing here is, by changing the regulator, we're essentially changing the length of the hairspring. Obviously we're not adding length to it, but it's changing the apparent length of the hairspring, the force that it exerts on the balance. That's what we're changing. So now there's a little shoulder here on the metal part, and a little shoulder on the inside there. So basically I want to hold the watch by this little raised portion here on the watch body, and it's going to keep the face of the watch elevated off the microphone so it won't touch the actual dial. There we go. I got this very specialized screwdriver that I've made the blade very, very thin. It's just for regulating and moving these extremely small screws, which you can't even really see in the camera. I got the camera all the way in. Oh, I see. I've been moving it down see here. Oh. Change the rates down. It's 33, so I moved it a little bit. It's gone a little more accurate. I gotta move it a lot more though. Yeah, I'm just, boy, I don't know if I've got enough screw to regulate it in that much. It's really gonna have to be moved pretty far. Alright, it's gone down to 20. I'm definitely in the zone. Alright, it's up to 15 under. I find it's tricky with this swan neck because the spring is always pushing against the set screw. It almost seems like it's easier if I nudge the regulator, kind of push into the spring a little bit, flex the spring slightly, and then tighten the screw. It's like I can move the regulator a little bit and then basically bring the screw up to it. And it's just a little easier than just fighting the spring with the tiny, tiny little screw. I really think the secret to this is just really just going slowly. So we're up to 14 seconds a day. Now the tricky thing about this is that as the mainspring winds down, the pressure on the gear train drops, right? There's this sort of gentle arc curve as you go from full spring to the spring laxing out until the watch stops. And so it's fully wound now. Even if I got it like to be exactly on the button at this spring tension, if I come back 12 hours later, it's going to be slow because it's going to have a lot less force on the drivetrain as the watch goes down. So really having it accurate over the course of a day, if you're not going to wind it every couple hours, you kind of want to find the sweet spot in between the two, because you want it to be accurate, throughout the day. So it might want to run a little fast, fully wound, so that it's going to run only a little bit slow when it's really wound down. And you want the basic accuracy of the watch to be somewhere in the middle. I mean, theoretically, you would think that the mainspring would have completely uniform tension all the way through its wind down cycle, but that's just not the case. I really find that it really does change a lot. So yeah, so it's settled into like between 15 and 17. I'm going to get it as close as I can. Well, okay, I'm going to leave it the way it is. We're very close. And so I'm going to let it run overnight and see where it settles in. I probably won't have to slow it down, but it might have to be sped up a little bit. But it's really close. I mean, we're teetering right on, like, within seconds a day. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take it out of the clamp here. And close it up. And as you close it up, you kind of have to wiggle the stem a little bit. You'll feel it drop in a little slot. Here we go. Get the cover back on it. You don't want to force the thread. Just use the same method as with screws. It's kind of just gently turn in the opposite direction, counterclockwise, until feel it start. Yeah. It's a very long thread, so you can actually feel it engaging. Okay. And then to secure it, you just put your hand on it and give it just a little, that's it. You don't want to torque it down. It's just like that. Just feather touch. Set the time. Let's see here, it's 7:34 and 10, so yeah. So the seconds are very close. It's 7:34:19 right now, so the actual time on the watch, it's just maybe 4 seconds faster than actual time. So yeah, it's going to leave this overnight, put it back in my pocket, and tomorrow we'll put it back on the time grapher and see where it's settled in. And because I've set the time to actual time on the Heathkit clock right above my desk, I've got a digital representation and the analog representation, and we'll see how it goes in. I know this is about 4 seconds fast from Heathkit time right now, and we'll see what it's like in about 14 hours. So, alright, here we go. Alright, day 2. So, I haven't wound the watch yet, but it's been like 14 hours since I set it up last night. So the spring is wound down, more than half. So let's see. Get it in the here. Okay. Get the sound off. Okay. So let's see here. All right. Let's get some samples here. So now look, now that the spring is wound down, it's charting up. Look at this, we're gaining. So now it's this is interesting. Look, it was going up when. This is one of the weird things about watches. Just moving the watch around, I guess, sped it up slightly. Oh look, now it's exactly right on 0. So now it's stabilizing. Now it's up a little bit. Might have something to do with the position. I'm turning the watch, like, instead of having it like on its back, which it's never sitting like that usually. When I'm carrying the watch, it's vertical, so I'll put it in a vertical position and see if that changes. See, now it's up again. It's kind of going all over the place. Oh, now it's 0 again. So again, just changing position. Look at this. That's just changing position of the watch. Yeah. So this is the thing. As the spring winds down, the amount of force going through the gear train is much lower. And so if it's fully wound, you've got this very consistent force. Let me show you. Yeah. So like... So, yeah, when it's fully wound, you've got the spring, it's fully coiled, so it's in a tight pack. And for a while, for a good number of hours, you're going to get a very consistent output. And then it's just going to sort of arc down, and then kind of just something like that. I mean, this is a little exaggerated, but this is kind of the power line you get. It's not like a rapid drop-off because it is a coiled spring, but you have a consistent output for a little while, and then at a point where the coil is like partially unwound, like maybe a third unwound, the shape of the coil changes and you've got this larger open area in the middle, and it's gonna start to lose its power overall. Now this is still like, this total amount of difference isn't that much. It's not like this is weak and that's really strong. It is very consistent, but there is this variation. And then as the spring continues to uncoil, it goes from being a tight inner pack coil to like a tighter outer pack coil, because it's a coil in a barrel. So it's the mainspring is inside of a cup. So you can imagine this is sort of like a hollowed cup, and the mainspring is a flat ribbon of steel, right? It's and it's coiled up inside of there, and it's attached on to a pin on the inside, and then it's attached to the outer barrel, and basically the whole cup moves around in a circle. So as that coil, when you wind up the watch, it's tightly packed in the core, and then as it unwinds, you get this more open spiral, and and then as it unwinds, you end up with a tightly packed coil again on the outside. So you have sort of like 3 phases of the unwinding of the mainspring, and so it's going to be like more consistent at the in the beginning and more consistent as it's loosened up. But so what you really want to do is you want to sort of somewhere in the mid take the reading. That's what we're getting right here. This is the mid. And if I let it wind down another 8 hours or so, we'll be in this area here. And if we get a reading there and see where it sits, then we're trying to set the watch, regulate the watch to be somewhere in the middle throughout the course of a day. Because it really depends on how you wind your watch. I don't wind the watch continuously. I wind it in the middle of the day typically. I'm not going to wind it overnight, but it's nice to have the watch in the morning when you're winding it to be not too far off of where it should be. Oh, look at this now. It's like really, look at this. It's just all over the place. Look at this. Plus 23. Oh, what the hell? So as far as the accuracy of the watch, the proof is in the pudding. So comparing it to the Heathkit clock, which I set it to yesterday, when I set the time, the seconds it was just seconds fast. It's faster than the Heathkit clock. And so we're coming up at 9:41. So 9:41 up there at the Heathkit clock, it's 9:41 and 35. So it's actually much better. So it's still running slow overall. So this is like 14 hours. It's still running like half a minute slow. Like that's like 3 times better than it was doing like a minute and a half slow before I adjusted it. So as far as the accuracy goes, I mean, it's getting within the ballpark of really where I want it. It's really strange having this be so inconsistent. I mean, this might be an indication of wear in the watch. The horologist didn't tell me anything about the condition of the jewels. They were back to 0 again, so now it's crossed. Yeah, it's just going up and down and up and down. But this is why you really have to take the sample over a long period of time. Now we're up again. Now we're going fast. I really don't let this watch wind down all the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind it back up again, because it's been 14, 15 hours since I wound it. Okay, so it was about half wound down. So now that it's fully wound, see, this is interesting how the graph is. It started out going slow and now it's leveling off. Now it's kind of it's kind of going all over the place. Look at this. Now it's going really slow again. It's interesting that it seems to be like it's really just bobbing all over the place. So this is when I looked at it first thing today, it was 30 seconds slow from yesterday. So I already know that like over the period of 14 hours or so, it did run like 30 seconds slow per day. So this is pretty close to where it is right now. But it took a while for that to stabilize. So I'm not going to go and readjust the watch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wear the watch a few days. I'm going to let it settle in. And I'm going to test it in a couple days, see where it is. If it's still in this 30 seconds slow area, I'll probably give it a couple more turns of that screw and get it somewhere in the area where it's going to run a little fast when I wind it up first, and then it'll be a little slow as it winds down. And we want to get it somewhere in the middle, but it's kind of all over the place right now. I'm going to change position again. Now it's actually like fully vertical. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, well, to be continued. Okay, well, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the patrons down in the Patreon for watching the videos and supporting the channel. Wouldn't be able to do any of this without my patrons. So thank you, everybody on Patreon. Yep. And yeah, I'll be back at the bench doing something real soon. Bye! In the lab. That's where I work. In the lab. Go berserk. In my lab. That's where I work. That's what you're watching. Friend Lab. That's what I'm doing. Working at the bench again. I'm Fran.